smart, or our high school education is so terrible we can't do this work, or our college thing is so bad. We're actually pretty flexible, much more so than a lot of other countries, because we do it by letting the young people make the decision.
So when I grew up, I went into engineering for the very simple reason that my dad told me to. So I wish I could say that I was more enlightened than that. But the reason why my dad told me that is because he felt that the best economic outlook for me was as an engineer versus in any of the other sciences.
Bill Gates is more respected in Indian schools than he is in American schools today. I mean, the fact is that Indian kids look up to the tech entrepreneurs in the USA, and they're the heroes. I mean, I'll tell you, when I've run 2 technology companies. When I used to go back as a tech executive, I was treated like a movie star in India, simply because I was a high-tech executive who had succeeded in the USA.
Why did he come to the USA?
He came for economic opportunity. Still today, what America does better than any other country in the world is the ability to have an entrepreneur with an idea, raise capital, form a company, build a company, grow it rapidly. We have very liquid capital markets. We have venture capital. We have a culture that supports risk-taking. And so that's why, 40% of all the Silicon Valley venture-backed companies are started by Indians. Well, they come over here, they get a graduate degree, a master's degree, a PhD degree, and then they start their companies here. And because you can form a company here quickly. In India, the capital markets, and in China, the capital markets are very much in their infancy. But they are working hard to. There are incubators now all over India, business incubators all over China, business incubators in Vietnam. I visited a business incubator in Ho Chi Minh City, the former Saigon, that rivaled any business incubator I have seen anywhere in the Midwest.
Define incubator.
It's where entrepreneurs come together and other resources are brought in to help them take their idea, form it into a product or service, write a business plan, get financing, start the company, and then grow the company. And Vietnam is communist. I mean, I was sitting in this room with these software engineers talking about their business. They were talking about stock options, IPOs, et cetera. And I said, wait a second, guys, aren't you all communists? And they said, no, just the government's communist. We're capitalists. And so they are moving very aggressively to build the support structure to create new businesses. And Tim Draper, who's in the film, he's a top venture capitalist from Silicon Valley. He was a classmate of mine at Harvard Business School. He's moved $400 million to Bangalore to fund businesses, $200 million to Shanghai to fund businesses. The money is moving to where the brains are. And where the brains are where the companies are going to get started. And that's where they're going to grow. Do you know the reason that Microsoft is in Redmond, Washington? Because that's where Bill Gates' parents lived, and he moved back to home, and that's where he started the company. There's no other reason for it to be there. So the next Bill Gates, who's going to be in Mumbai, that's where the company's going to get started. That's where all the wealth's going to be created. And that has serious implications for our economy.
When you sat down with Senator Obama and Senator McCain, and I must ask you, why not Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton?
I have not been able to get access.
Is there a solution from the government standpoint for this problem you see?
The answer is there's a multi-tiered solution. Senator Obama and Senator McCain understand we have a serious strategic issue with our education, and it's not just the schools. It's parents. It's what the community rewards. It's our cultural norms, but what we need at the presidential level is inspiration and leadership. But then it's got to filter down all the way to the community level, and each community has to make its own decision. So I think my worry is that the next administration, either direction, is going to want to put in one more federal program, and I don't believe that is the way to solve the issue. It's got to start with the parents and the students and the community.
Near the end of your documentary, you tell us what happens to each one of these kids. And
yes.
One of the things that I noticed, and you'll see it in just a moment, that one of the Chinese students wanted to go to Yale.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't get it.
Right.
And the two students from Carmel, Indiana, at the Carmel High School got exactly what they wanted.
They got their first choices, yeah.
Okay, well, we'll watch this, and then I want to ask you
Okay.
what's the message?
Unless the U.S. wakes up and realizes the new threat, realizes the fact that we're competing with anyone, anywhere in the world, we're going to lose. We're not going to be the leaders in the next 30 years or so unless we wake up and realize that.
And it takes decades to create a high-performing scientist or engineer. Because these things unfold over time, people tend to overlook them. It is a crisis because by the time one recognizes what has happened, it takes time to remedy the situation.
I think the key thing is not to get into a game where we say China's graduating 600,000 engineers, we're only graduating 60,000. Oh my goodness, we're going to lose our comparative advantage. We will lose our competitive edge. That's not the case. It depends upon how good our 60,000 people are, how well the industries make use of them, and it also depends how quickly, of course, the wages in China and India and other countries come up for these people. And they will be rising fairly rapidly for good people in those countries.
So if you think that what America does really well is creating opportunity, that ultimate economic mobility creates great motivation for people to want to apply themselves, those that do want to apply themselves, and get results and rewards. So I think that economic mobility, that open environment, socially, culturally, economically, is very important. I think, and it doesn't exist that much in other parts of the world. Still today, this is the land of opportunity.
The question is, can Americans continue to add substantial value to an integrated world economy so that the incomes of Americans continue to rise, and not just the incomes of the top 20 or 30% who get the best education, but I'm talking about the incomes of most Americans. That's the goal here. It's not to be number one necessarily in everything. It's not to knock the Chinese and the Indians down. It's to be part of an increasingly, hopefully, more valuable set of human minds doing more and more complicated and more productive things.
As I watched, I kept thinking the kids at Carmel got what they wanted, and they got to play at the same time, and the young people over in India and China did not get what they wanted. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure they wanted to play anymore, but explain, what was your point here?
There are actually a number of nuanced points in that last segment. First of all, Neil, the American boy, was accepted to Purdue on a full-ride scholarship in his junior year based on his PSAT scores. And so he didn't apply anywhere else. Now, if he were in India, his father and mother would have said, okay, you got your safety school. Now let's apply to Carnegie Mellon. Let's apply to MIT. Let's apply to Cal Poly. Let's apply to IIT in India. Let's shoot for the top. You remember earlier, in the earlier clips, every one of the Indian and Chinese parents, the kids said, you know, my parents want me to get into the best schools possible. IIT, they want me to get into, Peking, the Beijing advanced math program. The Indian and Chinese children shoot very high, and they fell short. But they shot high. And so as a result, I believe they lifted their intellectual horsepower and capacity much higher than if they had aimed low. And